Hi, in this lesson we'll talk about web design theories and layout. This lesson will focus on visual principles in web design theory. When talking about web design theory, we need to begin with the concept of visual hierarchy. Visual hierarchy is the idea that designs should be constructed so that users can distinguish the value and importance of elements in relation to one another. So what exactly does that mean? It means that designs can create and assign meaning and importance through their size, color, proximity, and many other design considerations. Consider these two headers. Even though both of them have important information, the one that users would immediately gravitate towards is the larger one. We've assigned meaning by changing the size, indicating that this one is more important than the one that we've decided to remain small. Similarly, the colors that we choose have an impact on how important information or elements will be. The darker colored header is easier to visualize, and thus is the one we gravitate towards. When we want information to have meaning, we generally should use darker colors, while lighter colors are best used as backgrounds. The distance that elements have from one another can also alter how we perceive them. The element that is given more space from the others is easier to read and decipher. If we want something to stand out and have meaning, separating it from other elements is an effective way to make sure users gravitate towards it. How we combine these different elements results in a website that confers meaning and importance to users. It's the choices that we make on each individual element that change how users interact with and understand our product. While each individual element matters, there are different principles for how these different elements should be combined. Let's explore some of those now. The first principle that we're going to explore is the gestalt principle. To understand this principle, let's look at this image. When we first look at this image, what do we see? Our initial impression is that this is a picture of an older man. But as we continue to look at the image, we can see that he is composed of other, more intricate pieces. We can see here that there is a man on a horse, a sleeping woman, and a bridge that together give us the appearance of an old man. The gestalt principle is the idea that we focus on the overall form and structure of an object before we pay attention to its details. Rather than see the individual parts, like the man on the horse and the woman, we see the larger form that is created from their interaction. This is relevant to web design because users almost always pay attention to the overall form and structure of a web page when deciding whether or not they like its layout. Here we have a sample web page. While there are text and images that provide us information about the web page itself, the larger form that we notice is this. Our eyes gravitate towards the greater form of the web page more so than the individual components. If the form is agreeable to us, then it doesn't quite matter much what the details are. When we develop our own web pages, we should first start by picking an overall form or layout and then fill in the components from there. While the overall structure of a web page is arguably most important to developing a website, how we view websites should inform the structures that we end up choosing. In creating a website, we must consider how most people will interact with it. Because English is written from left to right, websites should be structured to reflect the way that users would naturally read them. To understand this, we will look at two different layouts, the F and Z layouts. The F layout is based on the notion that English-speaking users will start at the topmost left part of a website and read from left to right. Users then return to position 1, go down to the next element at position 3, inspect it from left to right all the way to position 4. This continues down the web page until there is no more information. When designing a website, there should be careful consideration for where elements are placed on the page so that users interact with it. More important information should be placed on the left-hand side, while less important info can be placed on the right. This is why you may notice most sites place their ads on the right side of the web page. They're less interested in you reading the ad than the content of their website. The Z layout is very similar to the F layout, except it suggests that users are more likely to read across from position 2 to 3 instead of down. When a user reads a page, they read from left to right, then down and across back to 3, and then right to position 4. From a design standpoint, this layout suggests that if a user is moving across the page from position 2 to 3, then there is a space between elements that can be filled with photos, ads, or other filler content. When we start, we only have a blank page. It's from there that we decide the layout we'd like to use and impose structure that fits that layout. Once the structure is in place, we can then make decisions about which elements should be ascribed more value than others, and how we plan on conveying that with visual hierarchy. When all is said and done, this careful consideration towards the structure, layout, and visual hierarchy all contribute to a well-designed website. Now that you've learned more about web design theory, let's explore this in action